There it
No,
is.
it's on.
There we go.
So I had a question about your character in Lady Step in season 9. When did you find out you were coming back for that cameo, and how did it feel to be back on set?
Okay, so here's the question. The question is about me returning to Supernatural. Spoiler alert. Does everybody already know that? I guess so. Here's a question for you.
Yes.
Were you surprised?
I was pretty shocked, and my 5 friends watching me who had already seen it were cracking up. But as soon as the shock was over, you were so in character, it was out of character. So I was like, nah, it's gonna come.
You felt like it was a screw around?
Oh, it was total. Like, at first I was like, oh, thank God, he finally came back. And then, no, it's a trap. No way.
And it was. Were you guys surprised? Were you guys surprised? Yep. Say it again? I don't understand what you're saying, but I agree. It was one of those things where everybody agreed to try to make it as much of a surprise as possible. So Jeremy Carver, who's the showrunner, made sure that the credits were on the front. You know, we didn't want to give it away. And the weird thing is, you go up to Vancouver to shoot, and sometimes people see you and take a picture and say, and tweet it out and go, OMG, Richardson, Vancouver, shooting in, I wonder what's going on. And that never happened. It never, not that I saw at least, I never saw anything floating around out there about me being involved in the show. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, I went back up to I shadowed Tom Wright during the pre-production of the finale. And for whatever reason, I got seen all over town and photographed, and everybody was saying, OMG, Richard is in town shooting an episode. I'm like, no, I'm actually not. And now, because I'd already been in one, everybody thought I was lying. Like, no, we know, because you lied, and you said you weren't, and you were, and now you're saying you weren't again, and we don't believe you. I said, it's going to be disappointing when you watch the finale and see that I'm not in it. So the question was, when did I find out? I found out not that long before. I mean, I found out Robbie Thompson wrote the episode. And Robbie Thompson and I are friends anyway in life. We met back when we were in our early 20s, and then he also was a writer on Jericho, which was another show I was on. So I've known Robbie personally and professionally for a long time. And so we were having lunch, which is not like an unusual thing for us to do. But we scheduled this lunch, and then the night before the lunch, my agent called and said, so listen, he was reading all some crap, like blah, 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 blah. Oh, and Supernatural's coming back, so we're working out those details. I'm like, wait, what? 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 He's like, yeah, the Supernatural called, there's, they're bringing you back something, so we'll know more tomorrow. I'm like, hold on. You can't just breeze, that's 4 years ago that I died, and now they're like, holy crap. So then I go to lunch with Robbie, and I sit down, so that's all I know, right? At that point, all I know is, like, they haven't worked out the details, but I don't know when I'm shooting, just know something's happening. So I go to sit down with Robbie, and I'm like, Robert, what's up with you? He's like, what's up with you? I said, I don't know. Anything new in your world we need to discuss? He's like, I don't know. Is there? So we were like, because he didn't want to mention anything until I got an official notification, and I didn't want to tell him I had an official notification in case it wasn't real. And it was like a pretend, like it wasn't official. So finally I'm like, dude, I got a phone call yesterday. Is that really? He's like, yeah, oh, yes, I was waiting to get the phone call. Yes, we figured out a way to bring the character back. Because they've been trying to find a way to bring the character back for a long time, for a couple of years. And part of the challenge has been, how do you bring the character back who died? I mean, there are a couple, it's two different characters really in that. It's the Trickster and it's Gabriel. So, but if you're bringing back Gabriel specifically, it becomes a bit of a challenge, or it became a bit of a challenge, to not insult the mythology of the show. You know what I mean? So they figured out this way, and yeah, it was a. But here's the other thing. You mentioned like it was a trip, but Robbie and I had. So the answer to the first part of your question, I found out. A month before going up there, because they wanted to be sure I was available before they wrote the episode. So once they signed me on, then Robbie wrote it, and we did it. But the question you asked sort of insinuated that Gabriel, it was a whole Metatron trick. But Robbie and I had a lot of very specific discussions about how he structured it, because it was structured to be open-ended. For example, things Robbie put in there. So this is not my interpretation. These are things that I was walked through before we shot it. When you guys all seen the episode? Yeah. So after the girl kicks in the door and Misha figures out that his jacket wasn't torn and the whole thing is a hoax, and he says, "Oh, you're already dead." And I said, "Oh crap." I still snap out the universe. Which Robbie's like, if it were just Metatron, it would just disappear once his butt went. So he's like, it's still you controlling what's happening in your own way. Well, that's interesting. He also specifically left that last moment very open-ended with the, are you really dead, and the whole look. Because in Robbie's interpretation, he's not really dead. They're just trying to figure out, so it's left open-ended very much on purpose. And it's funny, people interpret that differently. When I was watching it, people respond on Twitter and stuff. Excuse me. So many people were like you said, "Oh, trick, damn it, I thought you were back, and now I know you're not back, and damn it to hell." And then other people were like, "He's back, I knew it, he's back. I saw the eyebrow thing, he's alive." And I think it's great, because it makes for an interesting discussion of is he or isn't he, you know what I mean? We'll see what they decide to do. But they didn't paint themselves into a total corner. I mean, I feel like there's ways to utilize the character now. At least they found a way to bring him back into the discussion, and we'll see. Do you hope, you tell me, pretend I'm not me. Do you hope the character's, pretend I'm Rob. Hey, do you hope the character is gone or alive?
I really hope he comes back. He was my absolute favorite character, bar none.
You and I think a lot alike. Perfect. All right, thank you for the question, buddy.
Outstanding. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You.
Hi. Again.
How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Good.
Actually, I was going to ask Matt yesterday if he had any embarrassing stories about you or Rob. So he proceeded to tell the flight story.
But is that embarrassing about Rob?
I don't think. Well, he seemed to have screamed a lot as well.
Rob. Well, I think the thing that was hard for Matt about that story, take the comedy away, and let's just go with the emotional context of that story. That was the day the little part of Matt died. I know, it was hard. Matt went from boy to man because he suddenly realized that Rob was a frail human being with faults and flaws like all of us. Because Matt thought that Rob was the stoic flyer, the man he could turn to, the man he could sit by and feel confident would keep him up, prop him up emotionally during a turbulent flight. And when he saw Rob collapse like a house of cards into a whimpering, simpering child, I think Matt lost a little bit of Matt. You know what I mean? He toughened up. I mean, it's important. But I think he looks at Rob with different eyes now. I think it's changed the whole dynamic. At least I hope it has.
Well, yeah, because my question was, if you want to take revenge and tell us anything about Matt and Rob that you don't want to tell us while they're there.
Man, I wish I had embarrassing stuff to say about Matt. I don't. Matt is one of the, Matt doesn't ever, Rob and I make giant asses of ourselves constantly. That's sort of part of our charm.
Do you know what Rob was today?
What? I heard that he put on women's shoes and walked around. Which, for you people, was a special treat. For us who know well, we just call it Thursday. Neighbor Rob putting on women's shoes. Yeah, I'm trying to think like what Matt. This is not necessarily embarrassing per se. Like, you know, we've all had conversations. I don't know if this is embarrassing or not. This is one of those things where Matt and I had a moment where I was like, really? And yeah, maybe this is too personal to share, but whatever. So Matt doesn't wear underwear. And I found that fascinating. And we had a very serious discussion about the point and pointlessness of underpants, which is what you do when you spend too much time with somebody. And it was kind of like Jared and the hairbrush, because Jared doesn't own a hairbrush. You ever heard that story? Jared doesn't own a hairbrush. And he has a shit ton of hair. So you would think, you know, so Matt doesn't wear underwear, and he has genitals, and he wears pants. So to me, he's skipping a step. But whatever, that's his thing. Jared doesn't own a hairbrush. His whole thing is having a lot of hair. Like, it's like being tall and having hair. It's his bit. That's his claim to fame. He's like Samson. You know, you cut the hair, the whole thing goes wrong. And he doesn't, and it's not that he doesn't own a hairbrush, which, by the way, I think is not true. I think he's lying. But I can't really go through his stuff legally and find out. But he gave me shit about owning one. That's what hurt. Because I said something about, oh, I forgot a hairbrush. He's like, hairbrush? Why do you own a hairbrush? Which to me was just, quite frankly, an asinine question. It's like saying, food? Why do you eat food? Again, I have a hairbrush because I'm going to go on a limb here. I have hair. And he's like, I don't own a hairbrush. I'm like, are you shitting me? You really don't own a hairbrush? I said, no. You get out of the shower, I towel dry, I do this. Wow. Which I know isn't really about Matt or Rob at this point. I've segued out that. But it just makes me angry.
It's natural.
It just makes me mad at Jared because it's just not fair. It's not right. You know what I mean? Like, the rest of us have to work so hard to get our act together. Rob, it takes Rob 15 to 20 minutes to get his toupee on every morning. Because there's snaps that go from the back to the front. And those are easy once you get those lined up. He's shaky. You don't know if you've seen Rob, he's real shaky. So it's a bit of a challenge for him. But he'll get those in and he'll snap them on. It's the netting up front. He has to be sure that's flat. Because if that pops up, you ever seen somebody with a bad toupee? If the netting comes up a little bit, it looks super weird. So Rob has to be sure that the glue is on and the netting is down. He has to let that dry. And then he has to take the pancake or the base makeup and put that on the netting and then blend it in. So when you do your photo with Rob today, anybody doing photos with Rob? Yeah, do a photo. Look at the hairline. Look for the netting. And maybe give it a little tug. Just a little. See what happens. So it's not fair. Guys like Rob spend all this time on their toupee, and there's Jared with his brushless hair perfectly placed atop his head. He's a total a-hole.
It's completely unnatural.
No, it's not right. It's not right. I know this is supposed to be a question about what's embarrassing about Rob and Matt, but no, I'm just really upset about Jared and his hair. His lack of hair, and I can share that with you people because I know it won't go anywhere else but here. We have a cone of silence, and we'll leave this room and never tell anyone that this story happened. Right? No, I don't have really. Rob's a funny dude. Rob may be the funniest guy I've ever hung out with. I find him to be really, really entertaining. And I know Rob feels like he gets thrown under the bus a lot, but that's only because he gets thrown under the bus a lot. Because it's literally part of his comic charm is being the guy that gets thrown under the bus. Like, he's built for that. He's small, so the bump isn't that big when the bus rolls over. No, he wears that so well. He also does a damn good imitation of me, which I find funny. Did he do that yesterday?
I don't remember, but your imitation of him is pretty good.
It's pretty good, yeah. My imitation of Rob is pretty good. we've done our imitations of each other together before, like me being Rob and him being Rich. It's pretty, I mean, it might be slightly exaggerated, but it's pretty spot on. Have you seen my imitation of Rob? No. I'll give my imitation of Rob. Now, pretend like you can see the back of my toupee. Most of my conversations with Rob are not that dissimilar. Like if we came up here, we did a bit about me saying, Rob, we're going to go do this thing, and he would be hesitant to do it, and I'd talk him into it. We kind of do that as a shtick on stage. It's actually how we function in reality. It's like how we exist. Rob, we're going to go do this kind of thing. And so Rob is always, he's the nervous one. The old joke about Rob and flying. Rob is not afraid to fly. I'm a nervous flyer. Matt's a nervous flyer. So we always made the joke that if there's a movie poster, if there's a movie about Rob and Rich, it'd be picture of Rob, picture of Rich, and over Rob it would say, over me it would say, he's afraid of flying, and over Rob it would say, he's afraid of everything else. That's kind of right. So my imitation of Rob essentially goes like this: me trying to talk Rob into doing something, and Rob goes, I don't know, Rich. I don't know. Maybe it's a bad idea. I'll be honest, Rich. I think I'm not doing that, Rich. But now, if we do that, we wind up. Now I gotta tell you something. I really. No. I don't think it's a good idea, Rich. I don't think it's a good idea. Okay, let's go. That's my Rob. And it's how most of our conversations end. With me talking him into doing something he's not proud of anymore. Thank you.